You need to leave this bank right now. The words landed like a hammer in the middle of the lobby. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. Even the soft music drifting through the marble-lined branch seemed to disappear. At exactly 10:42 on a rainy Tuesday morning in downtown Chicago, those 7 words shattered the calm inside Sterling National Bank. Karen Whitmore stood behind the customer service desk with her arms folded tightly across her navy blazer. Her expression wasn't uncertain. It wasn't confused. It was confident, certain, as if she had already decided the outcome long before the woman standing in front of her ever opened her mouth. Monica Hayes didn't move. She stood quietly beneath the warm lobby lights, one hand resting on the strap of a simple leather tote bag. Dark jeans, gray sweater, flat shoes. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive looking, nothing that fit Karen's image of the people she believed belonged in Sterling National Bank's private client division. Around them, customers watched carefully. A middle-aged couple paused halfway through filling out paperwork. A businessman lowered his phone. Near the coffee station, a retired teacher named Harold Benson slowly removed his glasses as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Monica's face remained calm. She had seen this look before. Not Karen specifically. The look, the assumption, the quiet judgment that arrived before introductions, before facts, before names. Karen leaned forward slightly. Ma'am, I've asked you twice. Private banking services are reserved for verified clients. Her voice cut through the room like a blade. Monica blinked once. I requested information regarding a commercial account review, she said evenly, and I was told someone would assist me. Karen laughed softly, not because anything was funny, because she thought she had already won. No one here is assisting you. A few customers shifted uncomfortably. The air felt different now. Heavier. Charged. Rebecca Sloan emerged from a nearby office carrying a tablet. She glanced at Monica, then exchanged a quick look with Karen. The kind of look that communicated an entire conversation without words. Rebecca's lips curled into a small smile. Is this the woman? She asked. Karen nodded. She keeps insisting she needs access to executive-level services. Rebecca looked Monica up and down. Slowly. Deliberately. Interesting. The single word dripped with skepticism. Monica remained silent. Her stillness seemed to irritate them even more. Most people argued. Most people defended themselves. Most people became emotional. Monica simply watched. That calm unsettled them. Behind the security desk, Ethan Blake straightened in his chair. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Alert. Karen waved him over. Ethan. The security supervisor approached immediately. His polished shoes echoed against the stone floor. Customers exchanged nervous glances. Nobody fully understood what was happening, but everyone could feel something was wrong. Ethan stopped beside Karen. Problem. Karen pointed toward Monica. This woman refuses to leave. Monica finally turned her eyes toward him. Calm. Steady. Unshaken. I haven't refused anything, she said. I've only asked questions. Ethan's expression hardened. Ma'am, if management has asked you to leave, then you need to leave. The room fell quiet again. Monica looked around the lobby. At the customers watching. At the employees pretending not to stare. At the polished Sterling National Bank logo mounted high above the reception desk. For a brief moment, something crossed her face. Not anger. Not fear. Disappointment. Deep disappointment. Then it vanished. Karen mistook that silence for surrender. That's what I thought, she said. Some people just need to be reminded where they belong. The words hung in the air. Sharp. Ugly. Impossible to ignore. And for the first time all morning, several customers visibly recoiled. Because whatever they had assumed this situation was, it had just become something far worse. And neither Karen, nor Rebecca, nor Ethan had any idea that the woman standing quietly in front of them was about to change every one of their lives. Monica Hayes had walked into the branch 23 minutes earlier without an announcement, without an assistant, and without any sign that she held more authority than anyone inside the building. The rain had followed her down LaSalle Street in a light gray mist, the kind that turned the city skyline into a watercolor painting. She carried a simple tote bag and a small notebook. Nothing more. No luxury watch. No security detail. No executive entourage. That was intentional. For months, complaints had been arriving at corporate headquarters. Some were vague. Some were detailed. Several described customers feeling dismissed before a single transaction began. Others mentioned employees making assumptions based on appearance. The reports never proved a pattern by themselves. But Monica believed numbers told stories, and these numbers were beginning to tell one she did not like. That morning she chose to see the truth herself. When she first entered the branch, no one greeted her. No one smiled. A young teller glanced up briefly before returning to her screen. Monica noticed everything. The posture, the expressions, the atmosphere. A bank revealed its culture long before anyone discussed money. Near the back office, a junior employee named Emily Carter had been organizing account files. 26 years old, recently promoted, eager to build a career. Emily noticed Monica immediately, not because she recognized her face, because Monica carried herself differently. Calm, observant, focused, like someone studying the room instead of participating in it. Emily watched as Monica approached the reception desk and politely requested information about a commercial account review. The request itself was routine. The reaction was not. Karen Whitmore's smile disappeared almost instantly. Rebecca Sloan emerged only minutes later. Questions became assumptions. Assumptions became skepticism. Skepticism became open suspicion. Monica never interrupted. She simply listened. Years earlier, she had learned that people often revealed their character when they believed no consequences existed. Sterling National Bank had started as a single office with 6 employees and borrowed furniture. Monica remembered every sacrifice. She remembered reviewing loan applications after midnight. She remembered sleeping 4 hours a night during the first year. She remembered investors who refused to take her seriously because she was a black woman in an industry that rarely welcomed people who looked like her. Every obstacle became fuel. Every dismissal became motivation. Over 20 years later, the institution had expanded across multiple states. Thousands of employees were the Sterling badge. Millions of customers trusted the brand. Yet standing inside one of her own branches, Monica felt something unsettling. The values that built the company were missing from the room. Behind her, customers came and went. Transactions continued. Phones rang. Keyboards clicked. The branch looked successful from the outside. But culture was not measured by marble floors or quarterly profits. It was measured by moments exactly like this one. Emily sensed the tension growing. She saw Karen exchange looks with Rebecca. She saw Ethan move closer to the reception area. Something felt wrong. Then Emily glanced at a customer profile left open on an internal screen. Her eyes widened. She looked again to make sure she was reading correctly. The name staring back at her was Monica Hayes. For a moment, Emily stopped breathing. The founder, the chief executive officer, the woman whose portrait hung inside corporate headquarters. Emily looked toward the lobby, toward the woman everyone seemed determined to underestimate. And for the first time that morning, genuine fear settled into the pit of her stomach. Emily Carter stared at the screen for another second, hoping she had read the name wrong. She had not. Monica Hayes, founder, chief executive officer, the woman who had built Sterling National Bank from the ground up. Emily felt her pulse quicken. She looked toward the lobby again. Monica was still standing calmly near the reception desk, while Karen Whitmore and Rebecca Sloan acted as though they were handling a routine security concern. The contrast felt unreal. Emily knew she should say something. She knew she should walk out there immediately and stop what was happening. But uncertainty held her in place. Across the lobby, Karen's confidence continued to grow. The longer Monica remained silent, the more Karen interpreted that silence as weakness. You still have not explained why you need executive services, Karen said. Rebecca crossed her arms beside her. Most people who belong here know exactly who they are meeting with. Monica met her gaze. I requested a review meeting. That is all. Rebecca gave a short laugh. That is not how this works. Ethan Blake shifted his weight and moved a step closer. Customers noticed. The atmosphere inside the branch had changed completely. A few people quietly returned to their seats, not because they agreed with what was happening, but because they wanted to watch how it ended. Harold Benson remained near the coffee station. A young mother waiting with her teenage son exchanged concerned looks with another customer. No one spoke, yet everyone was listening. Karen glanced toward Ethan. I think we have spent enough time on this. Ethan nodded. Ma'am, management has made their position clear. Monica looked toward the large windows facing the street. Rain traced thin lines down the glass. Chicago traffic moved slowly outside. For a moment, she appeared completely detached from the tension surrounding her. That calm frustrated Karen even more. She expected resistance. She expected excuses. She expected emotion. Instead, she found patience. The kind of patience that came from someone who had already survived worse days than this one. Emily finally stepped away from her desk. Her heart pounded. She moved toward the manager's office, hoping to find a reason to interrupt the situation without creating a scene. Before she reached the door, she heard Rebecca's voice again. Honestly, Karen, this happens more often than people realize. Someone walks in, acts important, expects special treatment. Several customers visibly reacted to the remark. One businessman lowered his newspaper. Another customer frowned openly. Karen smiled. Exactly. Monica's expression never changed. Yet something about her eyes shifted. Not anger. Observation. As if she were recording every word and placing it carefully into a file nobody else could see. Emily stopped walking. Suddenly she understood what made the situation so dangerous. Monica was not defending herself because she was gathering information. Every assumption, every comment, every decision. The branch was revealing itself. Karen stepped behind the desk and picked up a phone. I think it is time to document this interaction. Rebecca nodded approvingly. Ethan remained stationed nearby. The lobby grew quieter still. Emily felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Because while Karen believed she was protecting the bank, she was actually helping expose something far larger. And with every passing minute, the consequences waiting beyond those glass doors were becoming harder to imagine. Emily Carter could not stay silent any longer. The name on the screen felt heavier with every passing second. She looked from the customer profile back to the woman standing in the lobby and wondered how nobody else saw what was right in front of them. Then she realized the answer. They were not looking. They had already decided who Monica Hayes was before they ever listened to a single word she said. Karen Whitmore remained behind the reception desk, speaking with the certainty of someone who believed authority and accuracy were the same thing. Rebecca Sloan stood beside her, nodding along as though every assumption had already been verified. Ethan Blake maintained his position near the entrance, creating an invisible barrier that everyone in the room could feel. Monica remained calm, almost impossibly calm. Her composure now seemed to unsettle several customers more than the confrontation itself. A woman seated near the waiting area quietly shook her head. A businessman closed his laptop and watched openly. Even Harold Benson had abandoned any attempt to hide his concern. The branch no longer felt like a bank. It felt like a stage where everyone suddenly understood they were witnessing something important. Emily stepped out from the back office. Her shoes clicked softly against the floor. Nobody noticed her at first. Karen was too focused on Monica. Rebecca was too busy enjoying the situation. But Emily kept walking. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. She had worked at Sterling National Bank for 3 years. She believed in the company. She believed in the values displayed on every training presentation and every corporate poster hanging inside. Employee hallways. Respect. Integrity. Accountability. Yet standing in the lobby, she was watching those values disappear in real time. Karen finally noticed her approaching. Emily, do you need something? The question sounded irritated. Emily hesitated for only a second. I think there may be some confusion. The room grew quiet again. Rebecca turned toward her. Ethan glanced over. Monica simply watched. What confusion? Karen asked. Emily chose her words carefully. I think we should verify everything before making additional decisions. Karen's expression hardened immediately. We already have. Emily felt pressure building behind her ribs. She knew she was taking a risk, but she also knew remaining silent would be worse. With respect, I do not think we have. Rebecca laughed softly. Emily, this does not concern you. Several customers exchanged looks. The tension was becoming impossible to ignore. Emily glanced toward Monica. Their eyes met for the first time. Monica did not nod. She did not encourage her. She simply looked at her with the same calm attention she had given everyone else. Somehow that made Emily feel stronger. I believe we should review the client records again, Emily said. Karen stepped forward. That will not be necessary. The answer came too quickly, too defensively. Customers noticed. Rebecca noticed. Even Ethan seemed uncertain for a moment. The air shifted. Not dramatically, just enough. A small crack had appeared in the story Karen was trying to control. And once doubt entered the room, it began spreading quietly from person to person. Emily could feel it happening. The witnesses were waking up. The customers were paying attention. And for the first time that morning, Karen Whitmore looked less like someone in charge and more like someone afraid of what the next question might reveal. The crack in Karen Whitmore's confidence lasted only a moment before pride rushed in to seal it. She straightened her blazer and looked directly at Emily Carter. "Return to your station," she said coldly. Immediately, Emily did not move. The silence that followed felt enormous. Customers watched from every corner of the lobby. Rebecca Sloan folded her arms tighter. Ethan Blake shifted uncomfortably beside the reception desk. Monica Hayes remained exactly where she was, calm and composed, as though she already knew how the day would end. Karen pointed toward the front doors. "This conversation is over." Then she turned toward Monica. "You need to leave." The words echoed across the lobby. Several customers visibly winced. A businessman near the waiting area slowly stood from his chair. Harold Benson removed his glasses again and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Nobody liked what they were seeing, yet nobody fully understood how serious it had become. Monica glanced around the room one final time. Her eyes lingered briefly on Emily. Then she nodded once. Not in surrender, not in defeat, almost as if she were acknowledging something important. Ethan stepped forward. His voice remained professional, but uncertainty had entered it. "Ma'am, please follow me toward the exit." Monica calmly picked up her tote bag. She did not argue. She did not raise her voice. She simply began walking toward the doors. The lobby remained silent except for the sound of her footsteps crossing the polished floor. Karen looked satisfied. Rebecca looked victorious. They believed they had solved the problem. They believed they had protected the institution. They could not have been more wrong. As Monica approached the entrance, an old memory surfaced. It arrived without warning. She was 19 years old again, a freshman in college, standing inside a small bank branch on the south side of Chicago. She remembered the fluorescent lights, the cheap carpet, the manager who questioned whether the check in her hand really belonged to her. She remembered explaining herself repeatedly while other customers were served without hesitation. She remembered leaving that building embarrassed and angry, wondering why she was forced to prove she belonged in spaces where others were automatically welcomed. The memory stayed with her for years. It followed her through college, through business school, through boardrooms and investor meetings. Every time someone underestimated her, that memory returned, not as a wound, as fuel. Now, standing inside a bank she had spent 2 decades building, she felt the same disappointment she had felt at 19. Different building, different faces, same assumption, same story. Monica pushed open the front door and stepped into the gray Chicago morning. Cool air met her face. Rain continued falling lightly across the city. Behind her, conversations slowly resumed inside the branch. Karen was already speaking confidently to Rebecca. Ethan returned toward his desk. Customers exchanged quiet observations. Everyone assumed the moment had ended. But Monica did not immediately leave. She stopped beneath the bank's awning and looked back through the glass. Her reflection blended with the sterling National Bank logo above the entrance. Then she reached into her bag and removed her phone. One call. That was all it would take. One call to people whose entire job was protecting the values that branch had just abandoned. Monica calmly unlocked the screen. Her expression never changed. But somewhere deep inside Sterling National Bank, a countdown had already begun. Monica Hayes lifted the phone to her ear as rain tapped softly against the glass towers surrounding the financial district. The call connected before the second ring. David Brooks speaking. Monica looked through the branch windows. Karen Whitmore was laughing about something at the reception desk. Rebecca Sloan appeared equally relaxed. Neither woman seemed remotely concerned. "David," Monica said calmly, "I need you to activate a full legal review." Silence followed for half a second. Not confusion. Recognition. David Brooks had served as General Counsel for nearly 12 years. He knew Monica well enough to understand that she never made requests lightly. "What happened?" he asked. Monica's eyes remained fixed on the branch. "I was removed from one of our locations after requesting executive services. Employees made assumptions. Procedures were ignored. A witness attempted to intervene." David's voice became sharper. "Which branch?" Monica provided the location. The response on the other end was immediate. "Understood." Monica heard keyboard clicks. "Fast. Precise. Begin preserving all security footage," she said. "Internal communications. Access logs. Employee records. Everything." "Already in progress," David replied. Do you want human resources involved? Monica glanced through the glass again. Customers continued moving through the lobby, unaware of the storm gathering around them. Not yet. I want facts first. You will have them. The call ended. Monica slipped the phone back into her bag and walked toward a nearby office tower owned by the bank. She never looked back. She did not need to. Meanwhile, inside the branch, confidence had become celebration. Karen leaned against the reception counter. That situation could have gone much worse, she said. Rebecca laughed. For her, maybe. Ethan managed a weak smile, but did not join the conversation. Something about the morning still bothered him. He could not explain why. Emily Carter sat quietly at her workstation. The name on the screen had not changed. Monica Hayes, founder, chief executive officer. Every minute that passed made the truth feel heavier. She considered speaking again, yet she knew nobody was listening anymore. Karen had already decided she was right. That certainty had infected the room. Then, at exactly 11:17 a.m., small things began happening across the branch. An internal notification appeared on employee computers. Access logs were being reviewed. Security systems entered preservation mode. Several routine functions became temporarily restricted. Rebecca frowned at her monitor. That is strange. Karen barely looked up. Probably a software update. 5 minutes later, another notification arrived. This one carried a legal authorization code. Ethan stared at the message on his screen. His stomach tightened. Security reviews rarely happened without warning. Emily read the notice and immediately understood. Someone at headquarters knew. Across downtown Chicago, conference rooms were filling with attorneys, compliance officers, and senior executives. Files were being opened. Video recordings were being secured. Timelines were being reconstructed minute by minute. Nobody was shouting. Nobody was panicking. The process moved with the quiet precision of an institution investigating itself. Back inside the branch, Karen continued speaking confidently to customers. Rebecca continued processing accounts. Yet an invisible shift had begun. The building felt different. The air felt heavier, like pressure before a thunderstorm. Emily looked around the lobby and realized something profound. The branch thought the incident was over because Monica Hayes had walked out the front door. In reality, the moment she made that phone call, the real story had finally begun. 3 hours later, the branch was quieter than usual. Outside, the rain had stopped. Pale afternoon sunlight reflected against the glass buildings lining the street. Inside the lobby, Karen Whitmore had regained her confidence completely. The unusual system notifications had become little more than an annoyance in her mind. Rebecca Sloan had stopped asking questions. Ethan Blake convinced himself everything was routine. Only Emily Carter remained uneasy. She checked the customer profile again. The same name stared back at her. Monica Hayes. Every passing minute made the situation feel more impossible. Then the front doors opened. The room changed instantly. 10 people entered in dark business attire carrying folders, tablets, and identification badges. They moved with quiet purpose. No wasted motion. No small talk. Customers looked up. Employees stopped typing. The group spread through the lobby with the confidence of people who belonged there. At the center stood David Brooks, General Counsel, one of the most recognizable executives in the company. Emily recognized him immediately from leadership meetings and internal broadcasts. Her heart nearly stopped. Karen looked confused, then annoyed. She stepped forward. Can I help you? David glanced around the branch before answering. His expression revealed nothing. We are here regarding an internal review. Karen forced a smile. Nobody informed me about a review. That is correct, David replied. Rebecca looked between them. Ethan straightened near the security desk. Several customers quietly watched from nearby chairs. The attorneys and compliance officers continued positioning themselves throughout the branch. One requested access to surveillance records. Another began documenting workstation logs. A third spoke with the information technology department through a secure connection. Suddenly, the building felt much smaller. Karen's smile faded. What exactly is this about? David opened a folder. An incident that occurred this morning. The room became silent. Emily felt her pulse pounding. Rebecca shifted uneasily. Ethan looked toward the entrance. Then the front doors opened again. Every conversation stopped. Monica Hayes walked back into the branch. The same gray sweater. The same jeans. The same calm expression. Nothing about her appearance had changed. Yet everything about the room had. Karen stared. Rebecca stared. Ethan stared. Customers immediately recognized her. Several exchanged confused looks. Why was she back? Why was she walking beside senior executives? Monica moved through the lobby without hurry. David stepped aside respectfully as she approached. The silence felt enormous. Karen's face lost color. Rebecca looked as though she had forgotten how to breathe. Emily lowered her eyes for a moment, relieved and terrified at the same time. Monica stopped in the center of the lobby. The Sterling National Bank logo hung behind her. David finally spoke. His voice was calm, measured, and impossible to misunderstand. For the record, the individual removed from this branch earlier today is Monica Hayes. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. David continued. Founder of Sterling National Bank. Chief Executive Officer. Majority shareholder. The words landed one after another like falling steel. Karen blinked repeatedly. Rebecca's mouth opened slightly. Ethan looked toward the floor. Around them, customers stared in disbelief. Harold Benson slowly nodded as though a mystery had finally been solved. Monica looked directly at Karen. Her voice remained soft. You told security I did not belong here. Karen could not answer. Monica took one more step forward. You called security on the woman whose name is on this building. The entire branch froze. And in that silence, everyone understood that the consequences about to arrive had nothing to do with appearances. They had everything to do with choices. The silence lasted. Several seconds after Monica Hayes spoke. No one seemed willing to break it. Karen Whitmore stood frozen behind the reception desk. Rebecca Sloan looked as though the floor had disappeared beneath her. Ethan Blake lowered his eyes. Around the lobby, customers watched history unfold in real time. David Brooks closed the folder in his hands and nodded toward the compliance team. The review began immediately. There was no shouting, no dramatic confrontation, only facts. One compliance officer connected to the branch surveillance system. Another reviewed access records. A third collected employee communications from that morning. The process moved with quiet efficiency. Monica remained standing near the center of the lobby. Calm, composed, patient. The same qualities she had displayed from the moment she entered the building. Karen finally found her voice. There has been a misunderstanding. David looked at her. That is exactly what we are here to determine. The answer landed with surgical precision. Emily Carter watched from her workstation. For the first time all day, she felt relief. Not because anyone was in trouble, because the truth had finally entered the room. Minutes later, security footage appeared on a conference monitor brought into the branch. Customers could not see the screen, but the review team could. The recordings showed Monica entering the branch. They showed her calmly requesting assistance. They showed the assumptions, the dismissive comments, the decision to remove her without proper verification. Every minute told the same story. David asked only a handful of questions. Each answer made the situation worse. Was the identity verification process completed? No. Was executive account access checked? No. Was management authorization requested? No. Karen's responses grew quieter with each question. Rebecca stopped speaking altogether. Ethan looked increasingly uncomfortable. Then David turned toward Emily. Miss Carter, would you like to provide your observations? Every eye in the branch shifted toward her. Emily swallowed hard. Then she stood. Her voice shook at first, but only at first. She explained what she saw. She described, recognizing Monica's profile in the system. She explained her attempt to intervene. She described being told the review was unnecessary. No exaggeration. No emotion. Just facts. The room listened. Monica listened too. When Emily finished, David thanked her. That simple gesture seemed to carry more weight than any speech. Another compliance officer stepped forward holding a tablet. We have identified previous customer complaints involving similar concerns. Karen's expression collapsed. Rebecca looked away. The complaints stretched back months. Different customers. Similar patterns. Similar assumptions. Similar outcomes. The problem was no longer a single incident. It was a culture. Monica listened quietly. The disappointment in her eyes said more than anger ever could. Finally, David received a message through his tablet. He reviewed it for several seconds before speaking. The investigation team has completed its preliminary findings. The entire lobby seemed to hold its breath. Access reviews had been finalized. Policy violations had been confirmed. Leadership recommendations had been approved. Karen closed her eyes. Rebecca stared at the floor. Ethan remained motionless. Nobody argued. Nobody protested. Deep down, they already knew. The evidence had spoken for itself. And as afternoon sunlight poured through the branch windows, everyone present understood the same thing. The consequences arriving now were not created by Monica Hayes. They were created by every choice made before anyone realized who she was. The final recommendations arrived quietly. No dramatic announcement. No raised voices. Just a series of approvals moving through corporate systems with the same precision that had built the institution over 2 decades. David Brooks reviewed the findings one last time before lowering his tablet. The branch remained silent. Customers stayed in their seats. Employees avoided eye contact. Even the usual sounds of keyboards and ringing phones seemed distant now. Karen Whitmore stood motionless behind the reception desk. Rebecca Sloan stared at the floor. Ethan Blake looked toward the windows as afternoon lights stretched across the marble floor. Monica Hayes took a slow breath and looked around the lobby. She had spent years imagining what success would feel like. The awards had not mattered. The headlines had not mattered. The balance sheets had not mattered. What mattered was whether the values that built the company survived after she left the room. Today, one branch had provided an answer. David finally spoke. His voice carried across the lobby with calm authority. The preliminary review has been completed. Multiple policy violations have been confirmed. Leadership directives have been approved. No one asked what that meant. Everyone already understood. The consequences were immediate. Access credentials were deactivated. Management authority was removed. Internal reviews were expanded. Additional customer complaints would be re-examined. The process unfolded quietly, professionally, and without celebration. Monica watched it happen with the same composure she had carried all day. She did not smile. She did not look satisfied. If anything, she looked saddened. Because this had never been about winning. It had been about learning whether people were treated with dignity when nobody important seemed to be watching. Emily Carter stood nearby, still processing everything she had witnessed. Monica turned toward her. "Thank you for speaking up." Emily blinked in surprise. "I almost did not." Monica nodded. "Most people think courage feels comfortable. It does not." Emily smiled weakly. "I just knew something was wrong. And you acted anyway," Monica replied. "That matters." Around them, customers listened carefully. Harold Benson slowly rose from his chair. "For what it is worth," he said, "this bank is lucky to have someone willing to tell the truth." Several customers nodded in agreement. The tension that had dominated the branch all day began to fade. Not because people forgot what happened, because the truth was no longer hidden. Monica stepped toward the center of the lobby one final time. The sunlight behind her reflected against the Sterling National Bank logo mounted on the wall. Every eye followed her. Employees, customers, attorneys, witnesses. Her voice remained calm. "This morning, people made decisions. Before they knew my name, nobody moved. But that is not the problem." The room remained silent. The problem is that those same decisions would have happened to someone else who did not have the ability to walk back in with a legal team. The words settled over the branch. Monica continued, "Respect cannot depend on titles. It cannot depend on wealth. It cannot depend on who owns the building." She glanced around the room. It has to exist before any of those things enter the conversation. No one disagreed. No one could. Monica looked toward the doors where she had been asked to leave only hours earlier. Then she delivered the final thought that would stay with everyone who heard it. "I did not raise my voice today. I raised the standard." The lobby fell completely still. And in that moment, everyone understood that the most powerful thing Monica Hayes had brought into the building was never her authority, her ownership, or her legal team. It was the reminder that character reveals itself long before a name does.